Welcome to day 2 of the Get Your First Client Challenge. Today we're going to be talking about how much to charge for your coaching. This is one of the most common questions coaches ask me, and I'm going to help you come up with a price that's a win for both you and your coaching clients. And then I'm going to be addressing two of the most common fears that come up as you get ready to launch your coaching business. And those are the fear of putting yourself out there and the fear of technology. So buckle up. This is going to be a jam-packed session. Now, before we dive into how much to charge for your coaching, I want to address a very common mistake I see coaches make, and that is selling individual sessions, right? Or charging per hour or per session. Now, this is a big mistake for several reasons. First, it's mentally and emotionally draining for you as a coach. Every time you have a session with a client, you have to quote unquote sell them on the idea of working with you and paying you for another session. And so there's this unspoken pressure on you for each session. Second, clients don't get the best results because they're not as committed. Change takes time, and unless they're committed, your clients are not going to experience the transformation that you want them to experience and that they want to experience as well. What usually happens is that clients come for 1 or 2 sessions and then inevitably something happens. Life gets in the way and they can't make it that week. And so they think they'll come back for coaching the next week. And guess what? Next week they're swamped at work and they're stressed out, so they skip that week as well. And before you know it, weeks or months have gone by and they've forgotten all about coaching with you. The third reason I discourage charging for individual coaching sessions is that it's a lot of extra work. You have to bill them for each individual session and then you have to keep track of the payments. It becomes a logistical nightmare. Fourth, it's very hard to build a solid and sustainable business when you're selling coaching by the hour. Because your income is unpredictable, you don't know how much you should be spending on ads or whether you have the budget to hire a VA, for example. Fifth, clients don't experience the value of what you have to offer. It takes time and consistency to produce lasting transformation. And yes, clients can get breakthroughs in one session, but it's going to take several sessions in order to make a real and lasting transformation. So those are the reasons why I'm not a big fan of charging for individual coaching sessions. The solution is to sell coaching packages. So a coaching package is simply a bundle of sessions packaged and sold together. And you're going to charge people for that bundle of sessions instead of for each individual session. So my 12-week coaching package is called the Coaching Business Launch Accelerator. This is my one-to-one coaching program, and I charge $10,000 to work with clients one-to-one over 12 weeks to help them launch their coaching business online and set up the systems required to start attracting clients. So I help them to nail their niche, create their signature program, write the copy for their website, build out their lead magnet, write out their emails, build out their social media strategy, get their ads up and running, right, and so on. So everything we're going to be doing together here over the next 5 days, but of course in much more detail, and I do it with them. It's very high touch and they get to benefit from my expertise directly. So basically they're leveraging my expertise to build their businesses. So this would be a done with you type of a program, one-to-one and high touch. And then I have the same program in a group coaching program where I've got pre-recorded training. Clients watch that, they do the work, and then I give them feedback and we have group coaching calls where I help them wherever they're stuck. This program is significantly cheaper than the one-to-one because I'm not working with people in an individual setting, in a one-to-one environment. So for most of you who are starting out, you want to start out doing one-to-one. And that's because you need a bit of an audience to launch a group coaching program successfully. Because you're charging much less per client, you need more people to make it worth your while financially. But because you charge more for one-to-one, you need less clients. Depending on how much you charge for your coaching, some of you may need just 1 or 2 clients in a month in order to make a full-time income. So one-to-one is definitely the starting point I recommend for new coaches. Now, from my experience working with hundreds of coaches over the years, I've noticed that most coaches fall into one of 2 categories. There are those who are ready to charge high ticket right out of the gate, and then there are those who are terrified to charge a lot of money and may even feel guilty charging a lot of money for their coaching. And I'm going to be addressing both of those today. So let's first talk about what is high ticket. Let's define what that means. So by high ticket, I mean anything that's $2,500 or above for most first world countries like the United Kingdom, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, most of Europe, and other affluent countries. Now, if you live in a country where the local currency is weak compared to the dollar and you're coaching local clients, you'll have to obviously adjust the amount. In this case, high ticket would be defined as something that represents a fairly significant investment. Right? A purchase someone would have to think a bit about before they make it. And as one of my mentors, Alex Hormozy, says, the purchase has to sting a little when they make it. And again, this would vary from one country to another. So in South Africa, for instance, where the currency is significantly weaker than the dollar, I would define high ticket as something that's around 10 to 12,000 rands. So now that you know what high ticket is, let's look at some of the benefits of charging high ticket. You may not realize it, but charging high ticket is actually in your client's best interest as well. Why? Because when you raise your prices, you increase your client's emotional investment. If you offer a service where the client must take action in order to achieve the transformation that you provide, right? Achieve that end result, they must be invested. The more invested someone is, the more likely they are to achieve the end result, that outcome that they want. And what's the best way to get them invested? Charge them a lot of money. You've got to charge enough that it stings a little when they make the investment in your coaching. It's something they need to think a bit about before they invest with you. I love what Alex Hormozy says in his book $100 Million Offers. Those who pay the most attention. And if your customers are more adherent and follow through, and if they achieve better results with your service than your competition, then you are in a very real way providing more value than anyone else. This is how you win. When people pay, they pay attention. And the more they pay, the more attention they pay. It's human nature not to value what you've been given for free or you've been given for very little, right? But once someone has paid a lot of money, they now have skin in the game, which means they're more likely to show up for calls. They're more likely to pay attention and take action, which means they're more likely to get results, which is a win for you because it means that you'll get more success stories, case studies, and testimonials to prove that your coaching does work, which in turn means that you can raise your prices even further. So it's really a beautiful thing. Now let's look at some of the benefits you gain as a result of charging high ticket. Number one, you attract a higher caliber of client. These are people who see the value of investing in themselves and in their future. When someone is investing in coaching with you, what they're actually doing is investing in themselves and in their own future. And so when you raise your prices and you charge high ticket, you automatically attract this caliber of people, people who are used to investing in themselves, investing in their dreams, investing in their future. And these are the easiest people to work with and the most fun and the most enjoyable clients as well. You'll find that generally these clients are the most easygoing and they give you the least hassle because they have a completely different mindset. It's the people who are the price shoppers, the people who are not used to investing in themselves. They're the ones who are going to complain and ask for refunds, even for something like a $7 ebook. When you price high, you automatically price these types of buyers out. These are not the types of people you want to be working with. Second, and this is one very few people address, and that is that charging high ticket increases the client's perceived value of your service. In other words, they automatically assume that your coaching must be excellent and you must be outstanding because you're charging so much money. We're wired to associate price and value. The more you pay for something, the more valuable it usually is, right? The higher your price, the more appealing your coaching becomes. People will assume that because you charge a lot, your coaching must be worth that much. We automatically attach a value to things based on their price. That's just how we're wired as humans. And remember that people like to buy expensive, high-quality things. They just need a reason to justify the purchase. And if you really truly help people to achieve results and you can demonstrate that through your free content and through social proof like case studies and testimonials, then those who can afford your coaching and who want that end result will sign up for your coaching. Another reason is that charging high ticket gives you enough margin to reinvest back into growing your business. You now have enough to invest in good quality tools, in paid advertising, into building your audience, into content creation, and so on. And finally, another benefit to you as a coach for charging high ticket is that you don't need a big audience in order to make a lot of money. Because it's high ticket, you only need a handful of clients a month in order to be generating a good income, which means you don't need a lot of leads, you don't need to reach a lot of prospects. Your advertising also becomes more affordable because you need to reach less people in order to achieve your financial goals. But, and this is a big but, no pun intended, your coaching must deliver on the results that you promise. You must be so confident that you can help your client to achieve results because you've done it so many times that you know that if this person takes action and follows your system, then they will succeed. And in the beginning, when you're just starting out, you may lack that certainty simply because you haven't worked with enough clients yet. So what I recommend is that if you're an absolute newbie, coach your very first 2 to 3 clients for free in exchange for a testimonial or a case study. You'll get a feel for the coaching process and you'll see the areas where you need to improve. And most importantly, you'll be able to gauge whether you're able to get results for your clients or not. If not, you'll be able to go back to the drawing board, refine your process before you start charging clients. Now, once you've helped at least 1 or 2 people get results, the next step is to charge half the rate you would like to charge for the next 2 to 3 clients. So what's that final amount you want to charge? Charge half of that for the next 2 to 3 clients, right? And you're going to offer this reduced rate in exchange for testimonials or a case study. Now, this will allow you to get some income coming in the door and build your experience, give you some experience. Once you've helped these clients, raise the price slightly, still not to the full rate, for the next 2 to 3 clients. And then you're going to gradually raise your prices every 2 to 3 clients until you're at the rate you want to be. Now, by that time, you'll have accumulated enough experience. You will be a lot more confident in your ability as a coach, and your clients who are now paying full price for your coaching will benefit from the experience you now bring to the table. Another thing to keep in mind is the price to value continuum. So you need to be providing at minimum 10 times the value of what you're charging. So let's take my coaching, for example. At the time of this recording, I charge $10,000 to help coaches go from zero to launching their coaching businesses and bringing in clients in 12 weeks. That's for my one-to-one program. And let's say that you were able to, as a direct result of the work we did together, you were able to sign up 2 new clients every month for $5,000, be providing at least 10 times the value? Of course. Why? Because at the end of the year, you'd have made $120,000 from your 10th investment. Now, what about those instances where there's no hard monetary return on investment, right? There's no hard ROI, like when you help someone to lose weight or repair their marriage. So I want you to think in terms of the benefits that somebody gets as a result of coaching with you. So let's take a health coach, for example. Would someone pay $5,000 to be in the best shape of their life, to get off chronic medication and to get their energy back, to get out of pain, to avoid chronic illness and expensive medical bills? Yes, many, many people would. The value you're providing far outweighs the price. Right? $5,000 to get their life back, to get their health back, is really a bargain. Let's take a look at relationships, which can often be one of the sources of the greatest joy in our lives when they're going well, or the greatest pain when they're not. Again, if you can help someone to bring the love and intimacy back into their marriage, or repair the relationship with their children, or help them to become more confident in social settings, what's that worth to them? Right? Any one of these will dramatically improve the quality of their lives, and people will pay thousands of dollars in order to achieve those end results, especially if it's something they've been struggling with for a long time and they've tried to do to help themselves. They've read the books and they've taken courses and they still haven't been able to achieve results, and this is something they really want. People will pay for it. So I want you to really think about the value you bring to the table, because it's not just a matter of charging a high price. You must also be able to deliver and provide tremendous value for your prospect. So it's a win for you and it's a win for the client. Now let's talk about niche and the impact on pricing. Does your niche influence your pricing? And the answer is yes and no. So the general rule of thumb is that in business and wealth related niches, you can charge more. That's because you can show a hard ROI, right? A hard return on investment. So I can show you how investing $10,000 with me, for instance, can, bring you $1,000 back, like in the previous example. Or if, for example, you're a coach teaching people how to invest in real estate, right? Someone invests $10,000 with you, you can show them how they can make $100,000, $500,000, right? That's a hard ROI. With niches where there is no hard ROI, no hard return on investment, like relationships or personal development, you generally can't charge as much. But again, this is a general rule of thumb because your target market, the people you're coaching, will have a massive influence on how much you can charge for your coaching. So if you're a marriage coach, but you're coaching high net worth individuals and you help them to save their marriages and avoid a divorce, you can charge a lot more money for that than if you coach regular couples. Why? Because for these high net worth individuals, a lot more is at stake in a divorce. They could lose a significant portion of their net worth, face lengthy legal battles, and so on. Right? So if you could normally charge, $5,000 for a regular couple, for instance, you could easily charge $20,000 or more here. Another example would be, say, a weight loss coach who works only with physicians, right? That coach could charge a lot more money than if she coached stay-at-home moms, for instance. So how do you determine the price for your coaching packages? First, you can look at what the current market pricing is for similar packages, and you can use that as a guideline. And the second thing you can do is to determine how much you want to be making each month and how many clients you want to have, and use that to determine your price. I suggest doing both and then using that to determine your final price. So let's take a look at how many clients you need every month and let's set some goals around that. So how much money would you like to be making every month 6 months from now? So in 6 months' time, what would you like your monthly income to be? I want you to choose a number that's realistic, but also a bit of a stretch, right? It must feel a little bit out of reach. So for the sake of this example, and to keep the math easy, let's take 50,000 rands. Now for some of you, that amount may be more, it may be less, it doesn't matter, right? What matters is that the number feels right for you. Now once you've got that, the next step is to take the amount you want to make and divide it by your coaching fee. This answer will give you how many clients you need to get to every month, right? How many clients you need to enroll every month. So for example, if you want to make 50,000 a month and your coaching package is 10,000 rands, you need 5 new clients each month. Simple. Now let's consider the opposite side of the spectrum, and that is coaches feeling guilty for charging for their coaching. And the truth is that most coaches go into coaching because they want to help people. Helping people comes first and making money comes second. And because we so desperately want to help everyone, and we know that charging a lot of money automatically excludes people who cannot afford our coaching, we can sometimes feel guilty. And the guilt is made even worse if we have our own blocks about money, which we then project onto our clients, often unknowingly. So here's what I would recommend for those of you who feel guilty charging for your coaching. Number one, work on your own money blocks. Because if you don't, you're going to subconsciously project those onto your clients. Number two, give away valuable free content. This will serve two purposes. First, it will help those who are unable to afford your coaching. And second, you'll also be able to build your brand and position yourself as an expert in the marketplace. So it's a win-win. And third, don't confuse your charity for your business. The point of a business is to make a profit. Serve people with your free content and charge them for your time. Over the years, I've coached people for free and even given people who could not afford it free access to my high-ticket programs. Can you guess how many of them completed it? Not one. Not a single one. So many of my mentors and other successful experts have found the same thing. Russell Brunson, one of the savviest and smartest marketers on the planet, says that he gave his friends and family members free tickets to his events that he charged others thousands of dollars to attend. And not one of them did anything with what they learned. Why? Because people don't value what they get for free. So again, serve with your free content and charge for your coaching. Another point I want to bring up before we conclude today's training is that you need to be in a position of financial stability first. If you're struggling with guilt about having money, I want you to remember this. The most powerful thing you can do for the poor is not be one of them. Because when you have more than enough to meet your needs, you can then give to those who need it. So go out there and make money, charge what you're worth, and empower yourself so that you can turn around and make the world a better place. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the fears that often come up as we get ready to launch our businesses online. And one of the most common fears and challenges is feeling stuck and overwhelmed by all the technology required to build a successful online business. This is a very common fear, especially if you don't consider yourself particularly tech. So a couple of things if this is you. The technology isn't as difficult as it may initially appear. I promise. If you can use a smartphone, you genuinely have what it takes to figure this out. Over the years, the tools have gotten simpler, easier, and more intuitive. On day 5, I'll be sharing the 5 steps to running your entire business online like I do, as well as the exact tech stack, the tools that I use to do it. The second thing you need to remember is that anytime you learn something new, it's naturally going to feel unfamiliar. Remember the first time you got behind the wheel when you were learning to drive? If you're like most people, you probably wondered how on earth you would remember it all, right? And now you can drive and yell at the kids in the back seat and listen to the radio all at once. The point I'm trying to make is that the more you dive in and use the tech, the easier it becomes. Third, and this is a really liberating, is that you don't have to learn every single tech-related thing in order to run a very successful online coaching business. You don't have to learn how to create your own website or install your Facebook pixel or figure out a lot of this stuff out. You can hire someone to do it for you and hire someone relatively cheaply. I love using a website called Fiverr.com, and you'll be amazed at what you can get done for a few $100. And if you really don't have the money, then YouTube is invaluable. No matter what you need to do, there's some smart person who has figured it out and created a YouTube tutorial that will walk you through it step by step. And of course, the software programs themselves often have great help tutorials. So once again, you don't have to be a tech genius in order to run a successful coaching business online. And like I said, on day 5, I'll be showing you exactly how you can run your entire business online and the simple tech stack that I use. You'll be surprised at how easy it can be. The second thing that came up was fear, more specifically the fear of judgment and the fear of actually taking the plunge, leaving your job and going into coaching full-time. I'll be addressing that fear around making the transition into full-time coaching on day 5. But today I want to talk about the fear of judgment and the fear of putting ourselves out there. So have you ever had thoughts like, what will people say? Or maybe worried that people would think, who does she think she is calling herself a coach? Or maybe there's the fear of judgment from family members and friends. So let's unpack that and address these fears, because I can give you all the best strategies and tactics, and it won't make a difference until we deal with what's going on in our minds. So let's first talk about fear of putting yourself out there, of declaring that you're a coach, and of starting to create content and maybe even get on camera, which is something that really terrifies people and scared me half to death at one point as well. And I want to share some insights and what's worked for me, and perhaps it will work for you as well. Fear of putting yourself out there often stems from a fear of judgment. We're afraid that people will judge how we look or how we sound. We're afraid that our neighbors or friends will laugh at us. We're afraid that our family members will disapprove and, or say, who does she think she is? And all of these fears, bit by bit, choke out our dream of building a business. And before we know it, months have passed and we've taken no real action to build our business. Fear of rejection and ridicule, fear of the unknown. These fears can kill your dreams if you're not careful. I want to share a personal experience with you. For 23 years, I let fear keep me trapped in an abusive marriage. Not so much the fear of my abuser, but more the fear that I wouldn't be able to support my kids financially. Until one day the pain became so much that I declared, enough, I'm going to break free. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I just know that I am. God will help me figure it out. And He did. Was it easy? No. It was by far one of the most challenging things I've ever done. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Would I do it again? In a heartbeat. And you know what I discovered through that process? That I was far stronger and more capable than I had ever imagined. And so are you. There is a new, powerful, and amazing version of yourself that's on the other side of that fear. Jack Canfield says, everything you want is on the other side of fear. The second thing that I learned was that most fears are nothing more than paper tigers. If you push past them, you will realize that there's no substance to them at all. Some clever person made an acronym about fear: false evidence appearing real. Fear in most cases is nothing more than your primitive mind's attempt to keep you safe. Your brain is not designed to make you happy. It's designed to keep you alive and safe. And so your lizard brain, your primitive instinctual self, when it sees anything unfamiliar, it deems it as unsafe. And so it starts sounding off these loud alarm bells in your head. Get back into the cave, it's not safe. The primitive mind treats the fear of going live on social media with the same urgency as being attacked by a saber-toothed tiger. And so we feel this fear rise up in us and we step back and we retreat. But the threat isn't real. It's a false alarm. And if we can push past that, it's amazing what we can accomplish. One of the fears I had was that I didn't have what it took to live on my own. I married when I was 18 years old, and I went straight from my mom's house to living with my husband. And I had this fear that I wasn't capable of living on my own without another adult around to take care of things, which is really hilarious in retrospect, because here I am living as a single mom in a non-English speaking foreign country of Turkey, and I'm managing just fine. I also lived alone with my kids in the US for 5 months, and you know what? I did fine there too. So let's talk about fear of ridicule and judgment. Again, this is a huge fear, and it stems from our primitive minds where banishment from the tribe meant certain death. If you were banished from the tribe into the wilderness, the chances of your survival were slim. So we still carry with us that same fear of judgment, and of course, no one likes to be laughed at or mocked at. It hurts. So how do we get over this fear? First off, let me share a secret with you. You know all those people that you see that are so confident online, the ones that seem fearless, that can get in front of a camera and be amazing? They were terrified at one point too, but they didn't let the fear hold them back. Here's another thing you're going to have to accept when you put yourself out there. I wish it wasn't true, but it is. People are going to judge you. You will get haters. You will. But you'll also get people who are drawn toward you, who gravitate toward you, and who love what you share. Those are your people. When you put yourself out there authentically with a mind and a heart to serve, you'll start drawing those people toward you. My question is, are you going to let the tiny minority of people who don't like you keep you from serving the people you were put here to serve? And you know what? Their judgment has nothing to do with you. It's simply a reflection of themselves and their own biases and prejudices. The best way to overcome the fear of judgment and ridicule is to shift your focus away from yourself and your fear to the people you are here to serve. I think of so many of the businesses and even spiritual leaders of today, people who have deeply impacted my life and the lives of millions of people around the world, and I wonder what would have happened if they had let their fears stand in their way. How many people would have been deprived of what they had to offer? So don't deprive the world of the light that you have to offer, because there's something that only you can bring to the world. There are people who need to hear it from you in the way you deliver it, with your unique story and message and heart. And you know what? When you allow your light to shine, you're unconsciously giving other people permission to shine their light too. I want to share a wonderful quote with Marianne Williamson that is so useful for overcoming fear. And this is what Nelson Mandela used in his freedom speech. And it goes like this. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? We were born to make manifest the glory of God that's within us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. Isn't that beautiful? So, as we wrap up today, this is your homework. You're going to determine what the price of your coaching package is, and then you're going to calculate how many clients you need to make the income that you'd like every month. Right? You can just download the workbook below this video, and you can work on those two things. And then coming up on day 3, I'm going to be covering 5 ways to make money as a coach with the pros and cons of each, and my recommendations for what to do and in what order when you're just starting out. So that's it for day 2, and I'll see you in day 3.